It's 6 p.m. on a Thursday here in Korea. Welcome to our newscast. I'm Daniel Che. Let's begin with the headlines. All signs point to a rocket launch sometime this month, according to 38 North. Based on the latest satellite images, there are increased activities at North Korea's main launch site. South Korean president urged Pyongyang to cancel its launch while calling on the international community for stronger UN sanctions against the regime. The South's military ups surveillance activities and gets ready to intercept any rocket launch by the North. With time running out before the April general elections, National Assembly Speaker Jong-un sets a date to introduce the bill on redistricting constituencies. The deadline, February 19th. We begin at the nation's top office, where President Park has condemned North Korea's planned long-range rocket launch and called for stronger sanctions against Pyongyang. The launch is viewed by the international community as a cover for a ballistic missile test and follows the regime's fourth nuclear test last month. Song Ji-sun has our top story.
President Park has stepped up the pressure on North Korea to urge the regime to give up its planned rocket launch. In a statement delivered via her senior press secretary on Thursday, the president condemned the regime and called for stronger sanctions against Pyongyang.
North Korea's announcement of a long-range rocket launch following its latest nuclear test is a serious threat to peace on the Korean peninsula and in the world. Planning another provocation while additional UN sanctions are being discussed means that Pyongyang is not afraid of sanctions and shows that it is only focused on maintaining the current regime without any desire to establish peace on the Korean peninsula.
The statement follows another one made Wednesday after a National Security Council meeting, where the South urged the North to scrap the launch plan. North Korea on Tuesday announced it would launch an Earth observation satellite atop a rocket sometime over the next 3 weeks. The launch is seen by South Korea and its allies as a cover for a test of an intercontinental ballistic missile, and that would be a violation of UN resolutions barring the North from developing ballistic missile technologies. President Park also called for closer cooperation with the international community for stronger UN sanctions on North Korea, saying that it's the only way to convince Pyongyang that it would not be able to survive unless it gives its nuclear ambitions. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
South Korea's defense ministry says there have been signs of long-range missile launch preparations at North Korea's Dongchangli launch site and added that it's keeping a close eye on the situation.
Seoul and Washington are working in close cooperation to detect any missile launch activity. And if Pyongyang launches a rocket, we are fully prepared to not only detect it, but also track down its trajectory.
The spokesperson also added that if a rocket is launched and goes off track into South Korean territory, it will be intercepted by PAC-2 Patriot missiles. The South Korean military has boosted surveillance capabilities by mobilizing an additional Aegis destroyer, which is capable of detecting missiles from 1,000 kilometers away. It has also deployed the Green Pine ground radar as well as airborne surveillance equipment that includes PSI planes. It appears North Korea got right down to work after notifying the world it would launch a rocket sometime this month. According to the U.S.-based North Korea monitoring website 38 North, recent satellite imagery suggests new activity at the North's main Seoul launch site, located near its northwestern border with China. It says there are increased movements of vehicles around the site's horizontal processing building where rocket stages are assembled. 38 North adds these activities are similar to those spotted in late 2012 before Pyongyang launched its Una-3 rocket. However, the site also said the launch does not seem imminent, as the satellite photos indicate there have been no significant changes at the launch pad since the imagery was last viewed in January. Meanwhile, China's top nuclear envoy Wu Dawei returned from his trip to North Korea on Thursday, but without clear results. According to Japan's Kyodo News Agency, Wu told reporters upon arrival in Beijing that he said what must be said, did what must be done, but does not know what the outcome will be. The Chinese representative for the six-party nuclear talks embarked on the surprise trip on Tuesday amid international discussions on how to deal with North Korea for its latest nuclear test, as well as its potential rocket launch plan for later this month. Seoul's Foreign Affairs Ministry did not comment on what could have been discussed, but emphasized Thursday that South Korea is closely communicating with China on Wu's visit. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is also stepping up its propaganda campaign on his own people. North Korea experts say the move is aimed at cementing his power and tightening his grip over the ruling Workers' Party ahead of its Congress in the spring. Lee Ji-won tells us more.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un commanded the people to show absolute obedience to the military at a meeting of the Workers' Party Central Committee and the Central Military Commission this week. The North state-run Korean Central News Agency reported that Kim ordered the establishment of a united military force and called on his generals and officers to march in one direction, a direction he himself leads. Kim also said the only way to score an ultimate victory in the long battle against the U.S. is to unite the state under the ideology of his father and grandfather through his leadership. The KCNA report added the meeting has further strengthened the ruling Workers' Party ahead of an upcoming party congress this spring.
The meeting was convened to prepare for the party's upcoming Congress. Kim wanted to ensure the military is ready for it and for the military to become the perfect role model of socialism to strengthen the ideology in the society.
The meeting, scheduled for May, is the first of its kind in more than 3 decades and the 7th overall. During the historic event, Kim is expected to unveil new policies to strengthen his grip on the military. Lee Ji-won, Arirang News.
North Korea is still sending propaganda leaflets across the inter-Korean border in an apparent response to South Korea's loudspeaker broadcast. A new batch of leaflets touting the North's 4th nuclear test was found in the South late Wednesday night. Our Connie Kim reports.
Balloons carrying propaganda leaflets from North Korea popped over Gyeonggi-do province late Wednesday night, just below the heavily fortified demilitarized zone separating the two Koreas. Thousands of leaflets were scattered in the area, according to an area resident who heard them burst.
I was on my way back home when I heard a loud explosion and saw papers falling from the sky. I got out of the car to find out what it was, and it was propaganda leaflets from North Korea.
Fortunately, no one was hurt and no auto damage has been reported. Another batch of balloons packed with leaflets was sent over Seoul and Suwon on Tuesday, breaking car windows when they landed. The leaflets tout North Korea's latest nuclear test, which the regime claims was a test of a hydrogen bomb, and slams South Korean President Park Geun-hye for bringing the Korean peninsula to the brink of war. South Korea believes the North's leaflet campaign is a reaction to its resumption of loudspeaker broadcasts along the DMZ. Seoul turned the speakers back on after Pyongyang's nuclear test last month. Experts predict this won't be the last of the flyers. They say that as North Korea gears up for a planned launch of an Earth observation satellite on a rocket sometime this month, it'll continue to use a psychological warfare against the South. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Coming back to South Korea, lawmakers passed dozens of bills today, including one to revitalize corporate businesses. The Assembly Speaker has set a deadline for passage of one more, a bill on the remapping of Korea's electoral districts ahead of the general elections in April. Kim Young-gil tells us more.
With just over 2 months left before the April 13th general election, National Assembly Speaker Chung Yu-ah has set a deadline for a bill on redrawing Korea's electoral map. The main opposition Minju Party, which has been pushing for the bill, welcomed the decision.
The Speaker has promised to send the electoral map bill to the National Election Commission on February 12th no matter what. Therefore, the bill will definitely get passed by the end of the month.
After the election watchdog reviews the plan, Chung will introduce the bill on February 19th for lawmakers to vote on. The rival parties agree on increasing the number of electoral districts from 246 to 253. But the bill had been stalled because of disagreements over the number of proportional representatives. The ruling party had wanted to reduce the number to 47 from 54, while the opposition didn't want any change. On Thursday, the opposition capitulated, allowing the bill to move forward. However, the ruling Saenuri Party, in a reversal of its previous position, now wants to tie the electoral map bill to other bills on the economy and labor reform.
We again urge the Minju Party to stop focusing only on the electoral map. What's more urgent is passing these important livelihood bills. We must pass them all at once as soon as possible.
Amid the ongoing negotiations on Thursday, lawmakers voted to pass 40 bills, including the One-Shot Act, designed to reduce legal restrictions on corporations and provide tax cuts for companies that want to sell an affiliate or buy another company. Lawmakers still have a slew of other bills to vote on before the current extraordinary session ends on Monday, including one on North Korea's human rights and another that would strengthen South Korea's counterterrorism initiatives. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
Yoo Il-ho, Korea's finance minister, says the country has no plans to create another budget supplement, at least for now. His comments come after the government laid out a fresh set of stimulus measures to boost the economy, which is struggling with slumping exports. Hwang Ji-hye brings us the details.
Now is not the time for another budget supplement. That's what Korea's top economic policymaker said Thursday, adding extra money should only be poured into the economy if absolutely necessary. Since he took office last month, Finance Minister Yoo Il-ho has been emphasizing a focus on structural reforms and job creation, making it unlikely that the government will inject more money anytime soon. Last year, the economic team led by Choi Kyung-hwan laid out an aggressive set of stimulus measures to the tune of roughly $18 billion, which also included a budget supplement. Although the country has seen its exports plunge for more than a year, experts' analysis has also lent weight to Yu's comments.
If the Zika virus takes a toll on the local economy, or if any other uncertainty like the MERS outbreak or the Seoul ferry disaster emerges and puts a dent in domestic demand, then the government should pump in extra money. But that should be the last resort used in emergency situations.
The new economic team did, however, roll out fresh stimulus measures to shore up the recovery momentum. The government expanded the amount that it promised to front-load in the first quarter of this year, bringing the total fiscal spending increase during the period to more than $17 billion. Markets are also expecting the country's central bank to make a move to ensure the price competitiveness of local exporters amid weak global demand. Analysts say a rate cut could come sometime during the first quarter. Hwang Ji-hye, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, Korea's trade minister is urging business leaders to step up investment to revive the country's slowing exports. Speaking during a meeting Thursday with the heads of Korea's top 30 groups, Minister Chu Young-hwan noted how exports fell sharply in the month of January. Outbound shipments tumbled 18.5% last month after falling every month last year on the back of slowing global growth and low oil prices. He said Korea needs to strengthen its key industries, diversify its industrial portfolio into high-value sectors, and create new growth engines. The minister pledged that the government will boost its deregulation efforts so private sector investment kicks in quickly and creates more jobs. He added that such meetings will be held on a regular basis so both sides can easily share views. Turning our sights outside of Korea, one of the driving forces behind China's explosive growth over the past couple of decades has been its gigantic workforce, a seemingly limitless pool of affordable employees. But according to our Park Jong-hong, those golden days appear to be over.
For the first time in a quarter of a century, China's economy failed to grow more than 7% last year. For years, China has been propelled by a vast source of cheap workers, unmatched anywhere in the world. But times are changing. In fact, the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences says China's so-called demographic bonus is over. Demographic bonus refers to a country's economic growth potential when the working age population is larger than the non-working age of 14 and younger and 65 and older. In 2013, China's working age group peaked at more than 1 billion, but since then, the figure has been heading south. By contrast, the number of elderly Chinese is rising fast. Their number surged by more than 12 million over the course of 2 years to nearly 144 million in 2015. The trend is adding to concerns about the slowdown in China. Some global investment banks forecast China's growth will slip below 6% this year. The slowdown is already impacting the Korean economy, which is heavily dependent on exports to China. Korea's working-age population is also projected to contract due to the nation's chronically low birth rate. Based on figures from Statistics Korea, the number will peak at 37 million this year. But it'll start to sharply decrease from 2020, when the baby boomer generation enters post-retirement. Some experts say the aging trend combined with slowing domestic consumption and uncertainties overseas means Korea's future growth potential looks dim. Moody's forecasts Korea's growth rate next year will be around 2.5%, on par with that of the United States and Britain. Park Jong-un, Arirang News.
BMW Korea will compensate drivers whose cars mysteriously caught on fire as part of a broader customer appreciation campaign. The German carmaker and Korea's National Forensic Service announced Thursday the result of its months-long investigation, declaring that the vehicles were too damaged to determine the exact cause of the problem. The company did not specify the compensation amount, though. A number of BMW cars, including the 5 Series and 7 Series, have burst into flames. There have been more than 20,000 similar incidents over the last 5 years in Korea, 4% of which were imported vehicles. And that brings us to the end of our newscast. As always, thank you for watching.